Good morning. Okay, so today's session is for writing, and we are looking at conveying clear meaning and establishing cohesion using organisational markers effectively. So let's look at our aims and outcomes this morning. So by the end of this session, you must be aware of what clear, concise and precise writing is, know the different formats for different document types, plan your writing, proofread your work. You should be able to try and use clear, concise and precise writing. Know how much detail to use and know know typical lengths of certain documents. You could be able to employ all of the above to achieve high quality of clarity and format. So being clear and concise. So what does this mean? A good piece of writing is appropriate to the audience and will be clear, so it will be easy to understand. It will be concise, so to the point and avoiding unnecessary material, language, so on. And precise, says exactly what is meant. So being clear. Clear writing will avoid vague language, have a clear structure, and use punctuation and grammar accurately. So on the screen you can see two paragraphs, and they are both texts for fire safety training at a mental health and wellbeing centre. Which paragraph is the most clear and why is that? So I'll give you a moment to look at them before we answer the questions. Okay, so paragraph on the left, on the day you will learn how to keep safe in case of fire. It is an important day for everyone to be involved and learn some vital skills that will help you and your colleagues over the coming years. We'll be using lots of equipment, so come dressed accordingly. There will be a lunch break with refreshments. And the paragraph on the right, the Fire Safety Training Day starts at 9 AM next Monday. Participants should arrive in good time and wear comfortable clothing. By the end of the day, you will know how to use a range of fire safety equipment, including different extinguishers, reels and blankets. Refreshments and lunch will be provided. Anyone who experiences anxiety need not attend. So which of these paragraphs is the most clear?
The one on the right, the fire safety.
Yes, the one on the right. And what can you tell me about that? Why is it more clear?
It's formal.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, there's no contractions like there is in the first paragraph. Good. So it's appropriate. Can anyone give me any more information about why it's clearer? Anything that's contained in the paragraph on the right that isn't in the paragraph on the left? Okay, so we've got 4 participants this morning. Can anyone give us any information about paragraph 2 on the right? What information does it contain that is not seen in the paragraph on the left?
So different extinguishers, fleece, and blankets on the other left here. So
Yeah,
that's
good. Good. So on the left, the paragraph, so let's just call them 1 and 2. That might make it easier. So in paragraph 1, it refers to lots of equipment. So it's very vague. But like you've pointed out, in paragraph 2, it tells us which equipment will be used. Good. Anything else?
It tells the fire safety training day start at 9 a.m. next Monday.
Good. So it tells us the name of the training. So that's clearer. So people will know exactly what training they are doing. Good. There's a really important detail in paragraph 2 that is not in paragraph 1 that people will need to know. It's essential.
the last sentence on paragraph 2. It says anyone with experience anxiety.
Yes.
Not to.
Yeah, good. So there's extra additional important detail which needs to be included. So from paragraph 1, anyone that's suffered with anxiety would not know that they could be excluded from the training and could be becoming very anxious about it. So that's a really important detail. But also, so that was well spotted, well done. But also at the top of paragraph 2, we've got the time. So in paragraph 1, it doesn't tell us what the time is that it starts. Okay, we've also got comfortable clothing. So it says in paragraph 1, come dressed accordingly. But what does that mean? Does that mean smart clothing because it's a training course and, you know, there might be a variety of colleagues there? What does that mean? Where is it specific, clear, comfortable clothing? Okay. Well done. Right, let's have a look. The next slide. So being concise. Concise writing avoids repeated language, redundant language, overused or unnecessary phrases such as, due to the fact that, as a matter of fact, all things considered, for all intents and purposes, have a tendency to, in a manner of speaking. What I mean to say is, so they are unnecessary, often overused, and you could write a lot more simply and clearly. So bearing that in mind, let's have a look at this paragraph about a new Indian food business venture. So which paragraph is the most concise and why is that? So I'll number them 1 and 2 again. So I'll give you a few moments to look at that yourself. Okay, so paragraph 1. A year, 12 months ago, we invented a new groundbreaking way to make tinned food. It's completely revolutionary. As a matter of fact, lots of manufacturers wanted to use our idea, but we didn't know who to work with. We needed investment to take the method further. The project will reach its final completion next year, when you'll be able to buy food made with our new method. Paragraph 2. A year ago, we invented a new time-saving way to make tinned food. It's revolutionary. Lots of manufacturers wanted to use our idea, but we didn't know who to work with. We needed investment to take the method further. When the project ends next year, you'll be able to buy food made with our new method. So which is the most concise?
Paragraph 2.
Good. And can you tell me why?
So, start from the first sentence. It says a year ago, and the paragraph 1 says a year ago, stating 12 months in addition.
Yes, good. Excellent. So in the first paragraph, there's unnecessary language. It's not needed. A year or 12 months, you need to make a choice. You don't need both. Okay, well done. Great start. Any other reasons why paragraph 2 is the most concise?
The second sentence,
Yep.
it's revolutionary. And
Yep.
the paragraph 1, it's completely. So making it.
Yes. Yeah. So if it's revolutionary, we don't need the completely as well. It's either revolutionary or it's not. Also, in relation to that, I'm not sure if anyone spotted this, but excuse me, it says a year ago we invented a new time-saving way to make tinned food. In the first paragraph, it tells us it's revolutionary and that people wanted to use it and so on and so on. But it doesn't actually tell us why it's revolutionary. Whereas in the first paragraph, in paragraph 2, it tells us why it saves time. So if companies can save time when they're making tinned food, they can either save money or they can make more food in the same time. So it's telling us why people would want to, other manufacturers would want to use the idea. Okay, any other points? Why is paragraph 2 the most concise?
In paragraph 2, it says, when the project ends next year, you'll be able to buy food made with our new method. But
Good.
in paragraph 1, he said, the project will reach its final completion next year.
Yes,
So it's
good.
like, yeah.
Yes, so it's just more concisely put, isn't it? When the project ends next year, whereas in the paragraph 1, when it reaches its final completion. Good. Anything else or any questions about that?
Paragraph 2. Okay, let me start from 1.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
Good. Excellent. So this is unnecessary, overused phrase, sorry. It's just not needed. Okay, it's redundant. So we can see in paragraph 2 the same information, but it just says lots of manufacturers. It doesn't need that introduction as a matter of fact. Good, well spotted. Any other points or any questions about that? Good, well done. Okay, so precise writing. This says, number 1, exactly what you mean. 2 is direct. So if you can use one word instead of a lengthy phrase, then it's better to do so. So for example, Amy made a well-researched, compelling presentation is better than writing Amy made a presentation that convinced a lot of staff and used a lot of research. So again, bearing that in mind, which paragraph is the most precise and why? So again, I'll give you a few moments to look at them and then we'll have a look together. Okay, let's have a look together. So again, I will just label them so we're clear what we're talking about, 1 and 2. In my spare time, so paragraph 1, sorry, in my spare time, I like to go running. It's a good hobby for lots of reasons. You burn calories and keep fit. If you're sociable, you can join a club and run with others. You can run whenever you like, and the only thing you need is a pair of decent trainers. Running is an ideal hobby. Paragraph 2. In my spare time, I like to go get some decent exercise and go running. It's a good hobby for 101 reasons. You're active and keeping fit, which means you burn calories and improve your overall health. If you are chatty and sociable, you can join a club and run with others. You can run at a time to suit you. You don't have to rely on class timetables or opening hours. The only thing you need is a pair of decent trainers. Running is an ideal hobby. So again, the same question. Which is the most precise and why? So we can just remind ourselves, it's precise, we're saying exactly what we mean, and it's direct. If you can use one word instead of a lengthy phrase, then that's the correct thing to do.
When the paragraph 1 is the precise.
Yes, good. And can you tell me any reasons why?
Because in paragraph 1, it says in direct way that in my spare time, I like to go running.
Good.
In paragraph 2, it says in my spare time, I like to go get some decent exercise and go. It's a lot.
Yeah, so it has a lot of unnecessary language, doesn't it? Decent exercise and go running. Good. Any other points?
And also in paragraph 1, it says it's a good hobby for a lot of reasons. But in paragraph 2, it says it's a good hobby for 101 reasons.
Yeah, so that 101, it's a bit cliched, really. It's we just don't need that. 101 reasons. Lots of reasons is fine. Good. Okay. Any other points, either from yourself or anybody else? So we've in paragraph 1, which is the more precise paragraph, we've got you burn calories and keep fit, which is great, very precise. How do they write that in paragraph 2 that's totally unnecessary?
Yeah, in paragraph 2, it says that you are active and keeping fit, which means you burn calories and improve your overall health.
Good. So we don't need all that additional language and information.
Yeah.
Just this precise, you burn calories and keep fit. It's the same meaning, but it's written precisely and concisely. Good. And what about if you're sociable? How do they write that differently about if you're a sociable person?
Yeah. The chatty.
Yeah, so we don't need that. If it's sociable, then that word encompasses the fact that you'll like conversation with others, that you might be chatty.
Yeah.
So we don't need the chatty word. It's unnecessary. Good. So what about when you can run? What's the difference? So in paragraph 1, it says you can run whenever you like. Paragraph 2 tells us that same information, you can run at a time to suit you, but it's also got this unnecessary, you don't have to rely on class timetables or opening hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need that. Okay, so we could just cross that out. And then the ending is the same. The only thing you need is a pair of decent, I'm crossing the wrong thing out. The only thing you need is a decent pair of trainers. It's an ideal hobby. Good. Any questions about that? Okay, so we're going to watch video now. Right one.
At work, at home, in your studies and for your functional English assessment, you will be writing different types of documents for many different reasons. The reason why you are writing is known as the purpose, and the documents are called text. This unit will explore some of the documents you might come across and the different purposes for which you should be able to write. Let's start with different types of document. Letters and emails, posters and adverts, reports and essays, information sheets and guidance, instructions and directions. Do you know how to write these kinds of text? Can you set them out in a way that your reader will recognise? Some examples of purpose of text are persuasive writing, information, advice, instructions. Obviously there are many more, but these are a good place to start. So when you are writing a piece of text, you need to think about what you are writing about, but also why you are writing and how the writing should be laid out. So how do you write a piece of text? Firstly, you need to plan for content. Use a plan before starting to decide what information you are going to include. Number the plan in the order you want to deal with the information. When you have your content sorted, then you should think about some of the features in each type of writing. Let's look at an example. When you're writing to give instructions, you should make sure that the reader is in no doubt about what they should do. Use headings and subheadings, bullet points and numbered lists, a diagram or image of what something should look like, or something that helps the reader to follow the instructions. Know the features of each type of text so that you can use these when producing your own writing. So if you are writing a leaflet or advert for something, you would be trying to persuade the reader, and you could do this by using features such as bold, flashy, eye-catching headings, pictures, use of emotional words, directly speaking to the reader, using you. Keeping on the right track when writing. Some questions to ask yourself when writing are: what's the main reason for this text? What is my main intention? What type of writing is this? What does it look like? How am I getting my message across? Why am I writing? You also need to pay attention to layout in certain kinds of documents. You should know how to write common texts, such as emails and letters, for example. What is this? Yes, it's a letter, but how do you know? It has addresses, a date, Dear Sir, yours faithfully. You should remember to include all of these elements when writing your own formal letters. Know what features are important when writing letters and make sure that you use them all. What's this? It's an email, but how do you know? It has an opening such as Dear and a closing such as Kind Regards or Yours Sincerely. Make sure you know how to lay out an email, know the key features and use them. These are just 2 examples of types of writing. Investigate the layout of other types of writing that you will be expected to produce, such as reports or information sheets. Once you have finished your writing, you must proofread or check your work. Always read through what you have written and take special care with areas that you sometimes get wrong. Make sure that what you think you have written is actually what is there on the page or screen. Proofread to make improvements. Proofreading isn't always about checking for errors. Sometimes you might find that you can use a better word or phrase. You could rewrite sentences so that they sound more professional. There are times when you might think of a little bit of extra detail to add to your piece. Know what kinds of documents you are expected to write in your studies and workplace. If you are not confident in how they look or what they should include, then find examples of these so that you can study them and practice writing your own.
So, any questions about the video? Okay, so we're going to look at some of that detail. Writing formats. Here are 7 main writing formats that you could be asked to produce in your Level 2 English assessment. A report, an article, an email, a letter, a review, an advert or piece of promotional material, and a manual. So you should be familiar with the features of all of those formats. So when you come to do your assessment, and before any piece of writing, but this is focused on when you're coming to do your assessment, initially you should be planning. So you'll be given some paper to write on for your ideas, and this won't be handed in. This is just for your own use. So scan your brain. Think about the writing task you've been asked to do, and initially scan your brain for ideas and write them down. It doesn't matter about the order that you write them, just as they come to you, scribble them down, and all ideas are welcome at this point. So don't disregard anything, just quickly write them down. Then you can go through all the ideas you've written and choose the best and most relevant ideas to make sure that you are fulfilling the task you've been asked to do. So select the best and most relevant ideas. And then, as we saw that lady doing in the video, number the ideas in the order you wish to write them. So you might want to spend a few minutes doing that, thinking about the best order for you to put these ideas into. And you'll be thinking about the structure of your writing. And then once you've done that, go through the plan again, see another idea might have come to you that you didn't have initially, or you might decide to change something. Okay, so at this point you should have a plan of what you are going to write. It's an essential step, so don't miss it out to get on with typing your piece of writing, your text in the assessment. you need to do this planning stage first. So the purpose and the audience of your writing. What are you writing and why? So an email to complain about bad service, or a letter to your local council to ask about them putting a playground nearby. So what's the purpose? And who is this for? Is it for one person, a letter or an email, or is it for lots of people to read, a newsletter or an advert? So you can see here in this table, we've got types of texts on the left, then we've got the purpose and the audience. So a report could be written to inform or explain, and that is either for the general public or a specific group. So it could be a sales report in a company, and it's for the the staff of that company. An article, so a newspaper, magazine article, to inform, explain or persuade, and again the general public or a specific group. If you're asked to write an email, it could be that you're asked to write to complain, to request, to advise or to persuade. So that's important. What is the purpose in the task that you've been asked to do? And that will often be to a specific individual, or it could be a specific organisation. A letter, the same as an email. The purpose that you'd be asked to write that text: complain, request, advise or persuade. And again, a specific individual or an organisation. Obviously with an email and a letter, there's many similarities, but there are differences as well. So you need to be aware of those. A review, so you might be asked to write a review of, for example, a film or a book. And a review, the purpose is to describe and explain. And again, for the general public, or it could be a specific group. So for example, if it's a review of a school play, that would be probably in a school newsletter. Or it could be that you're writing, when you're writing a review, you might be writing a book review for a staff newsletter. So it can be different depending exactly the purpose and the audience. An advert or promotional text, so it's to persuade and inform, and again the general public or a specific group. So depending what the advert is for, it could be aimed generally or very specifically. And a manual, and the purpose is to instruct, and the audience is consumers, or so instructions for building a piece of furniture, the audience would be the consumer or an interested individual. So it could be a manual about bird watching, that would be for interested individuals. But if it was a recipe book, again, the people interested in that type of cooking. So manual covers different things. It could be instructions for how to do a certain activity, how to play a game, how to build a piece of flat pack furniture, or it could be a recipe, which is often the one that you will see as an example for a manual. So the format, detail and length of texts. So in your assessment, they might not always tell you how long it needs to be. So you need to be aware of the detail and length that would be expected for that type of that type of text. So a letter the format would be, it needs the sender's address, the address it's going to, a date, a salutation, and a close. And if you know the person you're writing to, so Mr. Smith, if you know their name, Mr. Smith, then you sign off yours sincerely. If you don't know the person's name, so you're writing dear sir or madam, then you sign off yours faithfully. And we could look, actually, I've got an example of a letter we could look at. So you should be able to see that on your screen. Oh, that one's an email, apologies. Let's try it again. Oh, I think, sorry, apologies. I think were both emails, those examples. I think that we're all familiar with a letter anyway, and it's got the details, the format details there. Any questions so far? Okay, let's carry on. So an article. So the format, it should have a heading and then subheadings. The heading could be like a newspaper headline. So the main heading, so larger font, bold, so on. And the detail and the length. So it should be well organised and structured in paragraphs. An email, so it needs a viable email addressee, a subject heading, and an appropriate salutation and close. So an email, if you're writing an email to a company or to a colleague, then there's a level of formality to it which you wouldn't see if you were just writing an email to a friend. So if you're asked to write an email, it's likely to be a formal one. So you need that salutation and close and an appropriate subject heading. You don't need to put the date on an email, of course, because that will be put in for you on an email. So as it tells us here, if you don't know their name and you're writing dear sir or madam, then the close would be yours faithfully. And that's the same for a letter or an email. If you know the name, it's yours sincerely. If you don't know the name, it's yours faithfully. And the length would depend on the task, but you need to ensure that you've covered all the relevant details and information required in the task. So for a report, there should be a heading and you might include subheadings. You could include diagrams and charts in a report, but if you are asked to write a report in an assessment, then you wouldn't be expected to generate those and produce them for your assessment. But in a report, if you're writing a report for your job, then you might want to include those. And the detail and length. So in a report, you should have a short introductory paragraph under your heading and a conclusion at the end. And then you can structure your main body of the report into paragraphs, including the details. So any questions about those? Okay, so we'll just carry on with the text types, the review. Again, headings and subheadings, which make it clear and easy to read. And extra information at the beginning or the end. So if it was a film review, for example, the main cast members, the running time of the film, the age rating, and your star review rating, that could either appear right at the beginning or right at the end. But that information would be expected in a review. So again, the detail and length. So with a review, it should be an overview. with relevant details. An advert or promotional material such as a leaflet, eye-catching, needs to be eye-catching so people want to read it. So an eye-catching headline or message, and you should have subheadings and possible sidebars or text boxes with additional information. So advertising an event, for example, the time, the address, contact details. So the detail and the length, it wouldn't require as much detail as many of the other text types, but there's essential information that needs to be seen if you are writing one of those, an advert or promotional leaflet. So dates, times, contact information, the website, where to buy tickets, and so on. The manual, you would want clear, spaced writing, bullet points, numbered lists. So if you imagine a recipe, you might have bullet pointed ingredients with a numbered list for the steps, the method. So step-by-step instructions, you could have those numbered, and a sidebar. So this might be for the tools, for example. So what do you need? You might need a mixer, and so on. And the detail and the length, so it needs to include all the key information, and you could overstate details for clarity. You must remember to mix the eggs separately, for example. And there'll be a lot of detail, because if you are following instructions, then you need to have that additional detail to ensure that the finished product or the finished result is as it should be. Okay, any questions about the format, the detail, the length? Okay, so what goes where? So I'm not going to read through all of this on the slide. You can see it for yourself. This shows you, along the top there, you can see the different types of texts and then what features they need. So this is something you could take a screenshot of so you can revise it. Learn it and revise it. You can access the recording and the slides on Moodle. So if you don't have a login for Moodle, if you contact the office during the week, they will give you one, and you'll be able to access the course materials, including the recording of this session and the slides. So you can have a look at that again. But it shows you what text or document types need which features. So this is really important, because when you are doing your assessment, the assessor will expect to see, for example, in an article, the third column along where it says article, they will expect to see those features listed. Heading, subheading, possibly a date, depending what the article type is, an introduction, an ending, and clear paragraphs. So if you know that you're asked to do an article, you think, right, what features does it need? For the structure, when you're doing your plan, you could quickly write those down and then make sure that your plan fits in, that you've not forgotten anything, that you have all of those features and that you fit your plan to it. Okay, any questions? So there's just 3 more text types there: review, an advert, and a manual. And again, showing you what features would be expected to be seen when you do your assessment. So how do we achieve clear and concise writing? So proofreading is key, it's essential. So when you do your assessment, you need to make sure you have enough time to proofread. You need to think about the time that you're allowed, that you're given, and you need to, in that time, you need to plan. As we've discussed, that's or as I've told you, That is an essential step. Then you're going to do your writing, and then at the end, another essential step is to proofread. Once you've written your text, you need to read it through. And there's a checklist here. So again, this is something you can screenshot, and you can just learn it so that when you're in your assessment, you can write these points down, or you can just remember them. And when you proofread, you can either tick them off or mentally tick them off that you've included them. So does the text address the task? Have you done what you've been asked to do? Is the order logical, or do you need to possibly swap any paragraphs around? Is it easy to understand? Is the language precise and concise? So you've not got any unnecessary language or sentences in there. Again, any redundant language. Have you checked your grammar, punctuation and spelling? Do they aid the meaning? Is it correctly formatted? So have you included the features in those charts that we just looked at, for example? And does it make sense if you read it out loud? Okay, so proofreading, an essential step. It's often when we proofread where we spot silly mistakes like spelling. You know the spelling, but you've just made a slight error. But when you proofread it, when you've finished the task you've been asked to do, you're a little bit more relaxed because you know that you can do it and you've got all that information down. That's when you're going to spot, oh, I've just missed out a word. That sentence doesn't make sense. I've missed a word out. Just need to pop that in. Oh, I know how to spell that word. Correct the spelling. Oh, these paragraphs sound like they should be in a different order. This is in the proofreading stage. It's really is essential. This is where you'll spot those errors and improvements that you can make. So any questions about proofreading? So as I mentioned, it's vital you allow time for the proofreading and check the spelling, grammar and punctuation. These are things that we can make mistakes with really easily when we're rushing or feeling a bit under pressure to get the assessment done, get the task done. But when you scan afterwards during your proofreading, this is where you notice them and you can correct them. So look for ways to improve what you've written. It's okay to change things and improve it with something better. And again, you might think of extra details. You might get another idea that you hadn't thought of the first time. So in the 60-minute test, every minute is crucial. Use all of the time. Don't finish early. Use that. If you finish, use it for proofreading. Read over it again and again. Find any errors. Add any additional information that is appropriate. And just make sure it's the best piece of work, that everything's included. So, what is clear writing? So if you read those answers, what is clear writing? So is it writing that's formatted correctly, that's spelt correctly, that is easy to understand, or is it all of those?
All of those.
Excellent. Yeah, we need all of those features. Which option best shortens this sentence? So we're making it more precise and concise. She became a mechanic for many reasons. She became, oh, sorry, I've not read the initial sentence. Let me start again. There were many factors that influenced her decision to become a mechanic. She became a mechanic for many reasons. She became a mechanic due to many factors. There were many influences on her decision. Many factors influenced her decision to become a mechanic.
A.
Yeah.
Okay. If we look at the original, there were many factors. So A and B are very similar, aren't they? So she became a mechanic for many reasons. She became a mechanic due to many factors. Okay, so A is correct, but I would have said B as well. But A was the most concise, if we look at that. Okay. Question 3. Which of these phrases could be removed from a text? All things considered, and as far as I'm concerned, at the present time, or all of those? So, which of those is unnecessary if we're trying to write concisely and precisely? Is there any one of those, or is it all of them?
C.
All of those.
Yeah, so C, yeah, all of those. Well done. What does proofreading mean? Reading your work out loud, making sure you've spelled everything correctly, sending your work to your tutor, or checking your work for errors and that it is fit for purpose?
D.
Good. Yeah. So A and B could be included during your proofreading. Well, A might help you spot errors if that's how you work. Reading it out loud might help you spot errors. But B is definitely part of proofreading. But overall, it will be checking your work for errors and that it is fit for purpose. So formatting. Which of the following texts must have a headline? Letters and articles, reports and letters, emails and letters, or articles and reports? So where would you expect to see a headline?
Articles and reports.
Good, yes. So if you think of like a newspaper or magazine article, would have a headline. You're writing a formal letter to Mr. Omar. What should the close be? Yours truly, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, or kind regards?
Yours sincerely.
B.
Good. Yes, so we know his name, it's Mr. Omar, so we use yours sincerely. Well done. What is an addressee? Someone's address, your address, another word for the day, or the person who you are writing to. So the addressee.
D.
Good. So it's the person who you are writing to. Why should I proofread my written work? To pass 5 minutes, to rewrite it, to look for errors and possibly add detail, or to change textual features?
To look for errors and possibly add details.
Good. So a really important step. You need to make sure you have time to do that. What's a subheading? The title of a text, the last paragraph of a text, a heading for a photograph, or a heading given to a subsection of a piece of writing?
It's a heading given to a sub of a piece of writing.
Well done. Yeah. When planning, is it okay to write down your first thoughts? So this answer is actually underlined, so we can see it's yes, which I'm sure you all knew anyway. And yes, like I said, when you're planning, really important step before you start doing your writing your text, do the planning and just write all your ideas and thoughts down, and you can cut them down later. So what might be the purpose of a manual? So why do we have a manual? What would be the point of writing a manual?
To instruct.
Yeah, to instruct. So a manual is another word for instructions. What's the purpose of a report?
To describe and explain.
Yeah. Sorry, to inform or explain. So if we think of a report, it could be referring to a company report. So what's happened over the last year, it's informing the staff, or it could be a newspaper report, informing the readers about something that's happened. Oh, sorry, wrong head. What's the purpose of an advert?
To persuade and or inform.
Yeah, good. So it could be a public health advert, wear face masks, it's to inform people, or it could be an advert to buy a product. So it would be persuading people to buy that product. So it could be either. A letter, what would the purpose of a letter be? Or what could it be if you're asked to write a letter in your assessment?
I think to inform and explain.
So in the assessment, if you are asked to write a letter, then the task would be to complain, request, or persuade. So complain about the I don't know, the lack of parking at the library, to request that the council puts extra traffic lights in, or to persuade people that they should attend a local community event, for example. In real life, a letter could be about anything at all. It could be a letter to a friend to inform them that you are getting married, or that you are moving house. So a letter could, in real life, be anything, but in the assessment, if you're asked to write a letter, it's likely it's going to be a letter of complaint, request, or persuasion. Okay. So how much detail would you be expected to see in a report? Or sorry, would you expect to see in a report? A full introduction, a main body featuring supporting evidence, a conclusion underlining your main points, or all of the above?
All of the above.
Yeah, all of them. You need to include all of those features. If you were to write instructions on cooking an omelette, which detail or details would not be essential? A list of ingredients, step-by-step approach to making it, a photo, a description of when to eat it, cooking times and temperatures. So it could be more than one, or it could just be one. What is not essential?
I think D.
Yeah, so we don't have to tell people when to eat it. It could be a suggestion. You could have this omelette for breakfast. Yeah, any others?
Yeah. And then some have C.
Yeah, and a photo. In a recipe, it's nice to have a photo so the reader can see what it's supposed to look like when they're finished, but it's not essential. What would you not expect to see in an advert for a guided tour of the Blue Mosque in Istanbul? An addressee, prices, opening times, rules for entry. So what would not be included? Okay, so an advert for a guided tour, we would want to see the prices. So we know how much, can we afford it? How much money do we need to bring? We need to know when it's open, so we make sure we don't go when it's closed. And are there any rules for entry, such as dress code, how many people in a group, and so on. But we do not need an addressee. That's a feature of a letter, not of an advert. Okay. Why would you not put a date on an email?
It will happen automatically.
Yeah, so email software just puts the date in. We don't need to add that. Okay, well done everybody. Thank you for your contributions today. And any questions before we finish? No? Okay, so what I would suggest is during this week, anything that you need to read, whether it's a letter or an email, or if you're reading a newspaper or adverts that you see around, just think about the features. What features can you spot? And that will just remind you, get them fixed in your mind so that when you come to do your assessment, that you're remembering to use those features. Okay, so thank you everybody and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.